Hello and welcome back to another week of the DP World Tour picks and bets. Skylar Hoke here, joined by Tom Jacobs, who is coming off of a winner 2 weeks ago. There was a break in between, but congrats on your big ticket on Hoshino at the Guitar Masters. Tom, how are we doing today?
Yeah, good. All the better for hanging on to that Hoshino win. It's nice to celebrate it one more week. Not the best week at Riviera last week in the end, so nice to get back to some familiar surroundings, I guess, with the DP World Tour. Although the field, I guess, leaves a little to be desired, Sky, which is often the case at this event, right? Like they can't all play all the events, but we did say this is what could potentially happen once the big guns went.
Yeah, this is kind of the juxtaposition that we brought out. Overall, yes, I'm kind of excited though. Like I woke up more excited like this, and the Mexico Open get me going more than maybe some of the big time events like last week at Riv, just from the opportunity stake. I guess weirdly enough, I feel like I'm a little bit more scared of Ewan Ferguson than I might even be sometimes of like Erasmus Højgaard or some of the other guys that are teeing it up, because I think a lot clicks for Ferguson here. But no, Tom, I'm excited for this week. Now, there's like we talked 2 weeks ago. There's the Super Bowl happened a couple weeks ago, right? A massive event. But today is the Daytona 500 for those into racing and motorsports, a large event here in the United States. But I mean, if you're looking at the podium here, the magical Kenya Open, Tom, is just holding that gold medal, and I know everyone is chomping at the bit for this event to get going. Anything else that you can just build up to us? It's just the best week of the year.
Yeah, I mean, look, it's called magical for a reason. It's on the Mount Rushmore of golf events, if not, sporting events, as you said there. I think, people look at kind of what are the most watched events in the world, and, you always see the Super Bowl and the Olympics and the World Cup final, and what you don't see is the magical Kenya Open. Look, I don't know, I don't like to call people liars, but it's one of the most watched events ever. So it's great. It's good fun. I think it's actually a bit of a throwback, the Magical Kenya Open. I think it's a course where you actually do get rewarded for a bit of accuracy and some good around the green game, which is not always the case on the DP World Tour anymore, Sky, or even the BJ Tour, right? We see a lot of big hitting and kind of rack up as many birdies as possible. And, whilst the scoring can get low here at times, you are going to have your work cut out. So I think it's a real event to look forward to.
Yeah, we are. And I guess in build up, we'll talk about this golfer during selection side too, but the peak, or I guess the origin of the Magic Kenya Open, this is the spot where Guido Migliozzi came out of literally nowhere to get his first ever victory and scorched earth from there on out. Guido is teeing it up this week. Last year, I believe he skipped this event. So it's good that he's back firing up some cylinders right now. There is a course change from those days to what we now play at. It used to be Karen Country Club. Now it's Daiga golf course or golf club. But similar aspects, tree-lined, tight, like you mentioned. White winner, Ashton Wu, somebody who doesn't overpower it. Forstrom won last year, right?
Campillo.
Okay, KBO, yeah, excuse me. I was confused too. Campillo won. So yeah, a course where the game is a little bit more technical. So I'm excited to not, I guess, fall into the same trap that I do a lot of weeks where I tend to bomber heavy. So, and I think there's still decent odds out there on some guys, even though we're congregating as an industry on a few of them. But from the top of the board, is there anybody, Tom? I mentioned Ewan Ferguson. I mean, he stands out as the favorite, 16. Tristan Lawrence, 16. Hoshino's back in the 18s. Anybody really sub 30 catch your eye?
I think Frederick Lacroix is giving me the fear a little bit that I'm going to jump off and it's going to happen, but that would be the only reason. Like, there's nothing I particularly look at. I think it's good. It would be a good event for him. I think his off the tee prowess will be slightly negated here, which ultimately was probably why I jumped off him a little bit. But yeah, look, I think for me it was, like you said, Ewan Ferguson's quite scary. I thought Tristan Lawrence was interesting. This is a player who's been playing pretty well for a few months now and was obviously a runner-up to Ashton Wu here back in 2022, although it was a distant runner-up. Wu won by 4 shots. So probably those two at the top. But yeah, for me, it was go down to the 40 to 1s and biggers, and I'm pretty happy with living in that range this week.
Yeah, me too. I mean, I think I'm okay with the taste in the mouth that LaCroix left us with the last time we were on him with some lower odds. I mean, we're also getting Jesper Svensson now sub 30. You know, we hadn't seen that really before. Alex Fitzpatrick game maybe a little bit more suited for here than what we have seen. Some of the events, Langosk is going to need some short game. Del Rey is now sub 30. And I don't know. I just much prefer where we land, especially your first pick. I think when I'm not on the same guy as you here to lead off, but I think if you want to talk the Canadian first, he's just playing a lot better than maybe these odds or some of these other guys. So there's definitely some value in Cockerell, it feels like.
Yeah, Aaron Cockerell for me. I think this is one of those weeks where you need to not be afraid of the little bit of sticker shock, right? Like Cockerell was regularly and routinely available, kind of 66 to 180 to 100 to 100, and bigger, right? And rightly so. He's someone that hasn't won yet, but he's this player that kind of is racking up these kind of top 5 finishes, semi-regularly for some of his ability now. I think he's got like 5 or 6 on the DP World Tour. He's got, further couple of top 10s, top 20. So he's regularly appearing in these kind of events. And certainly this field strength is certainly going to suit him well. So for me, Aaron Cockerell was kind of a no-brainer. I just mentioned there about Tristan Lawrence being a runner-up to Ashenbu in 2022. Well, Aaron Cockerell was also runner-up that week. And that was off the back of a really slow start. He opened 70 with a run of 70 in round 1. He was 40th going into the Friday, and then he shot 68, 67, 67 to really close out that week and play well. And look, when you look at Cockerell's form, it's been extensive, right? Like he finished 2023, with 32nd, a 25th, and a 15th, and that felt like he was kind of bubbling under the surface. Then he kicks off the new year, 4th at the Dubai Desert Classic, 23rd at the Ras Al Khaimah, 6th in Bahrain, and then he did miss the cut last time in Qatar. But one of the things I would say is that, one, I don't think Qatar was a great golf course for him. I think it was one of those ones where you had to buy him at his kind of lowest point in terms of odds. And it probably wasn't the right profile for him. A lot of big hitting, which he's not really used to, or really suits. So to me, this is a real big opportunity for Cockerell to bounce back on a course that suits him really well. The ball striking has been good for a long time now. He's 12th in the field over the last 8 weeks in strokes gained approach. He's 13th in teeth green overall, which again, considering he's not the biggest of hitters, is pretty impressive. So for me, Aaron Cockerell, 40 to 1, a nice bounce back spot. Couldn't have asked for a better golf course for him, I don't think, to find his way back from a miscut.
Yeah, it's a little bit of my fear this week. Riding off, or not even, I guess, incoming form overall, I think is kind of the question in play, because we definitely had a lot of golf courses that weren't suited for the players that might excel here, right? So we could have some misleading type of form in which we definitely were bomber heavy on a lot of the events, Qatar specifically, and even prior to that. So guys that we had kind of ticked the box for this type of event should stick with, if you want. I think there's a couple of long shots we'll talk on later that I think are still intriguing and don't want to write off just yet. The one that I'm starting with, seemingly very, very popular and makes a lot of sense, is John Catlin at 40 to 1. Catlin, a golfer who we just kind of think about it as a winner, right? Somebody who won on lower tours, Asian Development Tour, Asian Tour, won on the DP World Tour, kind of brought on. And I'd basically say I'd feel as if 2023, maybe even 2022, was just a failure, right? Like it just wasn't what we expected him to kick on like. And for the first time in what feels like a significant portion, he's in some spots in which we can feel comfortable at a course that plays into his suit, right? He's going to be way less off the tee than the average golfer, way more accurate. Now, these 3 events for him, the last 3, African Asia, so the Mauritius Open, where he finished 10th. And then he has went and played on the Asian Tour, which I guess he played on the Thailand Tour. This is John Catlin to a T, the Thailand Tour. And he withdrew with a stomach illness at the halfway point, which he was sitting 6th at. So he must have been pretty sick. And then he came right out on the Asian Tour last week in Malaysia and finished 3rd. So, if I look through kind of that, if you went and just picked him to, I don't know, look at the course last year, 15th here, made the cut both previous Magic Kenya Opens. He's been here. I don't know, just a ton just makes sense when we talk about John Catlin. I think 40-1 is a very safe price for him.
Yeah, look, I'm with you on John Catlin. He was the first person that was on my list, and I expected him to be popular. If anything, I actually expected him to be even more popular. He opened up at 50-1 over here this morning, and I just assumed he would be the most popular pick. And that might still trend that way in the end. But for me, John Catlin, I think we kind of brought him up at the end of last year, or maybe the start of this year, about someone that we think is, the product of someone that can go and win very quickly and change their career and the trajectory. I think we kind of sort of him sort of bracket is kind of Kitayama and people like that, right? And he never progressed onto that PGA Tour player. Now, depends how you want to look at that. Is he limited? Yes, I think he is limited. I think this is about his level, but that's fine. We only need him to win at this level, right? And what he has done is he's won the Austrian Golf Open, he's won at Valderrama very impressively, he's won the Irish Open, he's won in Thailand. He's won everywhere that he's kind of played. So even though he hasn't got to the PGA Tour, he's still won everywhere, right? And I think the thing that's really interests me, Sky, and the reason why I think his odds are still slightly inflated, actually, is that he just, as you said, just goes and plays everywhere. And it's the fact that his form has been back-to-back weeks in Australia, then over to Thailand, then over to Mauritius, then he withdraws on the Asian Development Tour, the Thailand Tour, sorry, and then comes right back and finishes third last week. And you can only go by what people are doing recently, right? And I think if it was someone that we didn't know about and we were just saying, look, let's take a chance on him, he's playing well in Asia, I'd be a little bit kind of reserved on that. But we know John Catlin wins at this level. We know he has done. And last year he led after round one here, opening round 64. Wasn't great in the middle two rounds of 70 and finished with a 69. But look, dangerous player, very accurate on his day. And this is the perfect golf course for him. So very much like what I said about Cockerell, like probably the best landing spot for him this week. And unlike Cockerell, he's not coming off a miscut. He's coming off a really good performance. So I'm really happy with Catlin there at 40-1 as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Spot on overall with it. For me, I'll just roll into the next one, right? We mentioned right off the top. This is comfort. This is home. This is where Guido Migliozzi is born and raised, in a sense, at the Magical Kenya Open. When the last time we saw him, and we kind of commented, I guess, early on into the year, Guido was, I would say, steady. 13th in Dubai, 25th at the Hero, 40th at the Mauritius. Like, just found a lot, but wasn't doing it much with the irons, wasn't doing it much, off the tee, middling. And finally, kind of old Guido popped up at the Qatar Masters, 4th in the field at approach, steady off the tee, just a little bit in the negative, field average with accuracy. And when you get somebody who now has evolved into I would say a trustworthy player around and on the greens, you're going to need irons. And in this week, you can play it from the fairway. I just get the juices flowing when I think about Guido at the Magical Kenya Open, Ben Coley on this week. You just can't. There's not enough for me that's sticking out on the board like that I need to get invested into. And when you just kind of circle back on the second spin around it and you just blur out some names, you look at somebody trending with some form and irons and history, Guido is that guy for me. So 45, so I'm very comfortable with.
Look, I think there's a couple of players, Sky, in this field that are just name value wise better than their odds suggest. And look, I think that's a dangerous game to play sometimes, is that, okay, this is a good player and, maybe he's not doing it and you're taking him at kind of short odds and you should just because of who he is. But there's Kiradech Afebarmrat, who I spoke to Brad about earlier, who hasn't actually played here, but, should by all means play really well here. And Guido Migliozzi, two players that we know can win at higher levels, compete at higher levels, who, when you put it against the rest of this kind of field, stand out. I think the other one is Justin Harding, making his kind of return this week, right? But he's never done it that well here at this course, and he's obviously been out for a long time, so slightly different prospect there. But yeah, for Migliozzi, this is a player that, look, he did win at the other golf course as opposed to this one. But yeah, I think for me, he's great. He's fine. The amount of times I've tried to talk you out of Guido Migliozzi, and this time I don't feel like I need to. The only downside is that the only time he's played this golf course, he's missed the cut. But that was probably amidst some bad form at that time of year. And as you said, found his irons last time out, and that's really important coming into season.
Yeah, yeah, 100%. And he's found success. I mean, at courses that have been more this style. You know, Cranston Sierra one that even last year, a bad four played well at. Has definitely excelled. I mean, I even think, I guess, you know, when we looked at the Belgian knockout, the second victory there, that was a course similar, tree line tight. These are type of courses that I trust Guido. The British Masters, in which he lost to Blank there, you know, another one of the Belfry that's not overpowered in that sense. So, yeah, vintage Guido, show up this week, man. We can get back rolling. I'm 60s for the next one, Tom. Let me double check. It's me again, right?
I think, is it the same guy? No, I don't think it is.
No. He's 100s in the States.
Yeah, it's got bigger over there. So good. So, yeah, you go your guy, and I'll come back.
Yeah. So this was a golfer who Brad tipped up quite a bit when it came to the preview show that we had done in the fall. And he's done nothing but impress since getting his DP World Tour card, making his last 5 cuts, 32nd, 34th, 23rd, 23rd, 13th. Some progressive form, all but a lot with his short game. And it's Sam Bairstow. Bairstow, to me, has kind of stood out overall in kind of his lead-in, flashing on leaderboards, showing some consistency. There were some courses I wish now that I'm in this, I wish I would have thought a little bit deeper about what Brad kind of had mentioned of some specific tracks in which he really liked Bairstow at, to jog my memory on those ones. But he is a golfer in which, you know, just, I guess if you looked at Svensson and LaCroix, maybe light of what they've done, right? You know, nothing near in which, you know, he popped up last year, finished 17th. Like that 13th finish is basically the best we have seen of him. He had won in Scotland before, you know, his golfer. So I don't know a terrible much about him outside of what we've seen in these 5 events when he's been lights out with the short game. He was 7th at the 54 in Qatar. The week before, he was 4th at the 54 by Ron. So he's had some tough Sundays, you know. So maybe that's kind of our name of the game with Bairstow, so he can get over the line, get more comfortable there. I just think 60s, I'm willing for the trends overall for him.
Yeah, initially I thought I was going to be on Sam Bairstow. Look, the only problem...
I expected you to be on.
Yeah, the only reason I wasn't in the end is very much for the reason you just pointed out there, and it could go one of 2 ways, is that I just don't know quite what player he is, right? Like I can't pinpoint that he's going to be this great driver of the golf ball and needs a wide open layout, and I can't pinpoint him as someone that's going to prosper on a shorter layout like John Catlin, right? Like I don't know if he's somewhere in the middle. I don't know if he's definitely in the bigger layout. So I would tend to think that he needs a bit of a bigger layout and gives it a little bit of a whack off the tee and likes a bit of links form. But that's what we're going to find now. And I think at 60-1, Sky, about the current form of Sam Bairstow, prototypically, he's my favourite type of pick. And that's why I was so close to going with him, and why obviously that was the first person I spoke to you about earlier. After John Catlin, but it was just, yeah, I just couldn't get there in the end because I couldn't find the reason to do it other than I just think he's a better player than he's given credit for. But as you said, the spot rounds are great. Final round 65 at the Raz, 4th after 54 holes in Bahrain, 6th at the halfway stage, 7 plus 54 holes at Qatar. Like, it's just been so solid. So for the value of it, like, he's 12th best player in the field in terms of form, and he's not priced that way. So I do think it's a player that we should keep an eye on, as I said last week or the last time we were on. And I think very much the same with Jesper Svensson. I think potentially what's happened is we've identified them and they've had a good couple of weeks, and now the market's kind of overcorrected on them a little bit. But Bairstow versus kind of Del Rey and Svensson in that respect isn't quite as extreme. So I think there's still some value out there for Bairstow, for people that believe he's the upside talent we think he is.
Yeah, that's basically where I landed. Like, he definitely hasn't been as good as those guys, but totally can agree. All right. Mid-range here. We can pass still to you before we get to triple digits on our alignment.
Yeah, so my next one is Sebastian Garcia Rodriguez, who, generally speaking, is just Sebastian Garcia now. I think he's a little bit like Nicholas Norgard Muller is Nicholas Norgard. I don't know why they're choosing these things, but Sebastian Garcia caught my eye. He's someone that I think has just played his best golf in Kenya. Like, it's like you hear people play their best golf in Africa and people play their best golf. He's just very specifically played his best stuff in Kenya. He was 14th in the Kenya Open on the Challenge Tour, and he's been 4th and 17th in this event since he's been on the DP World Tour. Now, the 4th came at Karen Country Club, where Guido obviously won. But the 17th, he was 4th after 54 holes as well, Garcia. And I just always like that sort of thing. I think people that just find comfort at that level, it's something you've got to keep an eye on, and it's not to be overlooked. And for whatever reason, it's just been Kenya, whether it's just the two very specific golf courses, whether it's the type of event, the altitude, whatever it is, he's done well. And there was the Kenya Savannah Classic, he was 14th as well on the DP World Tour. So no matter what happens, whether it's this event, the Kenya Open on the Challenge Tour, or the other alternative event where they went back-to-back weeks in Kenya, he's done really well. On the basis, it's not just the Kenya stuff as well, though, because on the basis of it, he's actually playing really steadily. 31st in the Dubai Desert Classic, stronger field, 37th for the Ras Al Khaimah, 12th in Bahrain, and 27th last time out in Qatar. It's how he's doing it, Sky, that actually impresses me as well. Generally speaking, I think of Garcia as someone that just gets off to a bit of a hot start after round one and fades, and that could definitely happen again. But there's been a steadiness to his approach game, 16th in the field in terms of straight going approach over the last 8 weeks. And off the tee, he's been, or tees green, sorry, he's been 4th as well. Just really steady in both ball striking categories, right? And I just believe in the kind of upside of someone that's played so well in this part of the world for so long. That I think we should keep an eye on him. I mean, look, he was 5th after round one at Dubai Desert Classic, kind of speaks to my earlier point about getting off to fast starts. Was, middle of the pack, 36th after 36 holes at the Ras Al Khaimah. He was 12th in Bahrain, but he was 4th after 54 holes, and probably a little bit like, I guess, Sam Bairstow and other people that we kind of mentioned here already, maybe has a little bit of a problem getting over the line. Well, he definitely does. There's no denying that he hasn't done it, but I think at the kind of 90 to 1, 80 to 1 range for Sebastian Garcia, really solidly ball striking at the moment, loves Kenya. I think he's someone worth chancing this week.
Yeah, I mean, may have the Sunday scaries, but you're not going to be worried about his birdie average. Somebody's going to score, light it up. I wouldn't be surprised.
And we notice if just come. Like, I'm not saying he's going to do it, right? Like I think that trying to compare every single golfer to that one that goes and suddenly has a breakthrough is really dangerous, right? But there are enough instances of a Matthew Pavon going from never winning, being quite consistent, to Bosch win on the DP World Tour, Bosch win on the PGA Tour. There is enough of the Tristan Lawrences that don't win, then win in bunches. There's enough of the Justin Hardings that do things like that. Like, it will happen to Xander Lombard. It will happen, and maybe they're slightly better players, right? But I'm not necessarily saying that Garcia can do that, but when you look at the kind of winning list of players in this event over the years, okay, you go back to the changeable like Lorenzo Gagli and Hayden Porteous and people like that. I mean, I don't even remember Jordi Garcia Pinto very well, but he won here when he was on the Challenge Tour. Like, I can see him doing something like that where he comes and plays well in this event, and maybe never does anything again. But at 80, 90 to 1, whilst he's playing his best golf in a place that he likes, I thought it was good value.
100%. I like it. If we talk about picks that I was super excited to make, it's this next one. And we kind of foreshadowed this on the last podcast when we mentioned another golfer with a similar type of profile in what he's been playing. But we said, literally, if Julian Surrey is going to be in a field, we're going to bet him. And it's 100 to 1 at the Magic Kenya Open. So if you take back what Julian Surrey had pretty much done, is make it through Q School just about everywhere. And unfortunately for him, DP World Tour and PGA Tour in final stage just came up just short. Enough for him to get a DP World Tour start because they went to the category below the overall qualifiers. So that's why he's starting this week. If you saw him on the PGA Tour Q School, he really wasn't, I guess, in it until the last day where he was floating the line of getting some guaranteed starts, double bogeyed the last hole, and missed out on any guaranteed start. Since then, he's been playing Monday qualifiers. He lost one of them in a playoff. He then double bogeyed another one down the stretch to miss out by one. He's just been heartbreak city for him. And I'm hoping for some good karma. You know, we saw him and bet on him in Australia where he finished 8th in one of the 2 events there. You know, he's a golfer who was on top of the world in some ways, you know, not that long ago. I mean, not that long ago. I mean, 5 years pretty much, probably, right? When he was, yeah, 2019, when I would say that's kind of the heyday. If you think about, I guess when I think of his win on the DP World Tour, right, that would have been, is that 2017? Was it made in Denmark?
Yeah.
Right? Man in Denmark. He always, I liked him always at the Open de France at the Golf National, where he's played well at another course. I mean, it's changed over time, but back then it was really, you play fairways and greens and tight. You know, if we looked at kind of his, you don't really get even strokes gained statistics in Australia. So we haven't seen much out of him in a significant portion of time from a stat perspective. But when he got on to the Challenge Tour last year, he finished inside the top three times in 9 events, inside the top 20 another 3 times. So enough golf where I think if you got him some consistency, man, he could really take advantage of it. And if the books are going to give us a number early, I love it at 100 to 1.
Yeah, look, this is a player that we as you said, we'd already spoken about him, and the Q score is kind of your bag. You absolutely love looking at all the different things and how close they get to qualifying or not. Obviously, someone that does that for a living is Ryan French and Monday Q Info, and he obviously flagged up the run that you were talking about there, and you know how many times he come close. And I sort of said to him when he put the tweet out that actually when you look back, it's such an it feels like a kind of bubble of really good form, but it's actually a really extended period of form. It goes right back to the middle point of last year where, you know, as you said, third at UM Bank Open, second at the Open to Portugal, third at the Swiss Challenger. He's actually had one outside of winning. Like, it's been so good for so long. It's just that he hasn't been able to make the starts. And you always talk about players that can only beat what's in front of them. Okay, it's not like he's gone and won every week on the Challenge Tour, but he's been inside the top 3 in 9 starts, like he said. He's been inside the top 20 3 more times. And then, as you say, finished off the year with the 8th for the Australian Open. And I think the first thing for me that flagged in my mind, and it's probably just misremembering kind of the type of player he was, I wondered whether it was the wrong type of golf course for him, for Julian Surrey, whether he needed a little bit of a bigger layout. I seem to remember the problems that he had. I think I remember sort of talking to his caddy before, and he was very wild off the tee for a period of time, and I think that was to do with kind of injuries and things like that. It seems to be that he's refined his game back to normal. And actually, when you look at his very best stuff, winning in Denmark, second in France, as you spoke about, Hong Kong Open, he was second there. Another one where you kind of have to deal with tight golf courses. Trophy of Sand, second there, tight golf course. The British Masters, we know, comes with tree-lined problems. And Hero India Open, there was another one. You had to hit fairways there, and it was actually almost an unfair golf course in the end. That's where he's really relished. So for me, Julian Surrey, as a player is, potentially in the upper echelons eventually. Was certainly on that kind of track when he first joined the tour. I mean, it wasn't until like 2016, I think, that he actually got onto the DP World Tour, right? Like he turned pro in like 2013. But you go back to actually his heartbreak of his recent Q Tour stuff. So I'm going off to a bit of a tangent here, Sky, but it was actually in 2016 he played all 3 stages of the Q score and finished 1 stroke shy of earning a place on the Challenge Tour as well. So he's kind of had these little disappointments throughout his whole life, and look, it fueled him to get a win in 2017 on both the Challenge and DP World Tours. Let's see if he does it here. The 2 people he's beaten, David Horsey and Tapio Pulkkinen, are people that get bet quite regularly, so he knows how to beat it. And he's 32 years old, guys. So the player's not, he's got plenty in front of him. He was an All-American at Duke. He's someone that I think when you look at it, it's just injury related as to why they've lost their way. I'm always going to forgive that. So as you said, 100 to 1, and you said it so succinctly, and I said it in such a rambling manner, but like 100 to 1, I think Surrey is great value.
Yeah, I'm excited for him. It's hard to think. I mean, watching like Jimmy Hardkay, Canoes at the Waste Management, man, like how do they keep going? Like, how do some of these guys like a Surrey, man, keep going? That's got to be insanely frustrating,
and especially for someone that's been there, right? Like I guess with like Jimmy Hardkay, like at least he like never really reached the level that he wanted to. But Suri got to the upper echelons of winning on the DP World Tour. Okay, he didn't get to the PGA Tour and do what he wanted to do over there, but he won on both tours that he played on. He finished inside the top 30 in a major championship. So he's tasted it. That's the even worse part. And, when he was out and he was kind of probably in that kind of Uline, Brooks Koepka kind of, bubble of Americans coming on, and just before Kitayama and things like that, like it was that string of golfers where there's such high expectations. And I think that almost hurt him. Like, it's just, okay, well, you're an American on the DP World Tour, you've won very quickly, you're going to go and be a superstar. And I think that's probably what hurt him. And then obviously injuries coming after that as well. So look, I think he's got his head down and he's humbled himself. Whether that was even a problem in the past, I don't know, but he's certainly, had to go and play other tours now. And I'm really impressed with what he's done. So I have slight reservations whether it's the best golf course for him, but 100-1, I don't really care. Like, if he was 33-1 or 40-1, then you have to weigh it up. But yeah, 100-1.
Yep, totally. Let's see, that does it on your end, right? Yeah. That kind of your last selection. I've got one more deeper.
I had one more, but I'm just wondering that you're going to talk about him. So I'll let you talk about your players and I'll come back to him afterwards. But I've got a feeling you're going to at least mention him.
Yeah. So before we kind of rip through our list like we typically do, we'll give a shout out to all of our audio listeners. You can find us Daily Fantasy Sports Picks and Bets, The Mix, Mayo Media Network. We appreciate all of your support. Kind of like, rate, review, subscribe, comment for us on YouTube. We love that. It's just really appreciative. As this is a big week for us, kind of just loving this event. But we have some, true big weeks coming up, summer and beyond. And we're seeing early guys from the DP World Tour continue to contend on the PGA Tour. So get to know them now with us, as 10 of these guys are going to be on their way over. So, and they're going to make impacts and win you some money and some low ownership in events. So please give us some love there. As I look through the field, Tom, I guess what's the best way? I'm just going to go through the odds because my guy's pretty deep here. David Rivetto won just last week on the Challenge Tour after pretty much doing absolutely nothing on the DP World Tour. It was kind of a more open layout where you could really kind of smack the ball last week. So he won there. I guess right off the top, I'll even ask you, was Sam Hutsby somebody that you were considering at all, Tom? Is that the one?
It's not the one, but Sam Hutsby was definitely on the list of people. Like, this is a very typical, someone's playing well on a different golf tour. Can they translate it? I mean, he's doing his stuff in South Africa, right? So 52nd, 13th and 2nd. Data, obviously a golf course where it demands a lot off the tee. Can he do that on this tour? Don't know. So in the end, didn't spend my time trying to figure it out. The only time he's played here, he missed the cut. I wouldn't necessarily hold that too far against him. I guess the difficulties you have, which is what makes the Corn Ferry in a Challenge Tour so, open, is that you don't get the stats, right? So how is he doing it? Why is his form really good? Is he hitting the ball, incredibly well? Is his approach numbers great? Is he doing it from a short game perspective? If I'd known any of those answers, I could build a case for him. So I can't, other than just outside of form.
So with that, Pork Tips had green in regulation for Sunshine Tour last week. However, the website says the Sunshine Tour does not give any statistics yet for 2024. So I don't know if there's some round by round or different things feeding in there. Said it was top 10 of greens in regulation last week on the Sunshine Tour. And not just one pop of a week. What was pretty interesting too is the week prior he was second after 54 holes. So 2 weeks in a row, kind of showing something. I don't know. He's a longtime journeyman that maybe I tend to lean somebody with a bit more question marks than a Hutsby. So I think I'm okay still passing there as I keep going through odds. Let's see. Hayden Barron showed some life as well. At the Guitar Masters, I believe he was the 36-hole leader and then kind of blew up over the weekend. Just played really tough. Valiant, first-round leader. Prior, I'm gonna keep going with the
So
150s. And
I can't believe that you haven't gone with Darius Van Driel after the comments that you made
so
earlier in the year. Like that's the one
I
for me that
know
I feel like you'll regret if you don't do it. And I'm not saying definitely do
it's
it
him.
because
It's him and Gearbosch both. Those are the two that when you say you're on Cockerel, it's just like, man, do
you
you just need to really think through kind of what these guys have been? I mean, I guess right last year Van Driel was good too.
yeah. So I think with the Gearbash one is very much similar to your Hugo Cassard shout, right? That you kind of flagged him as okay, he's done this in small patches. Can he go on a really good week? And he almost won. Is Gearbash going to do that? I mean, he's had a couple of weeks now where he struggled because it's a bigger layout. All of a sudden, he's very much on a golf course that suits him. So I was tempted to go back to him, and he would be my long bomb. I think Joel Gearbash if I had to have one. But just from your comments that you made about Van Driel, about how like when we get back to the Kenya Open, for example, it would be a good place to play him. And look, he did miss the cut in Qatar, which is disappointing, but 12th and 11th on this golf course. And I'm pretty sure he actually, if it wasn't round of the day, it would certainly be close with the 63 on Sunday last year for Van Driel. Like I was almost convinced that you were going to play him.
What's his 12th on the Challenge Tour?
The 12th, yes, and then the 11th was on
the 11th last year, right? 90s for him. If I don't land on somebody else as we talk through some guys, I agree that's probably like I was hoping to see some life out of Pedro Figueiredo. There was three guys. It was Figueiredo, it was Van Driel, and it was Gearbosch were the three in which I was worried at the last event, and then that's probably the smart thing to do, Tom.
Yeah, the other one that's kind of caught my eye, and it's purely based on kind of ball striking stuff, is Andrew Wilson has been 19th and 29th his last two starts and straight going approach, and 15th and 39th in tee to green. Just feels like he's hitting the ball better than this kind of odds suggest. Now he's missed the cut both times in this event, missed the cut of this course twice, and I just picture him as a bigger hitter than an accurate hitter, which I think is going to kind of harm him in the end, Andrew Wilson. I might be wrong on that. But I seem to remember that kind of being flagged up on Data Golf when we looked last year. But just someone I thought was hitting the ball, decently well. And yes, he finished 70th in Qatar, but he opened with a 70 to be 14th after round one, and 23rd in Bahrain was pretty solid. So he was one. And then the other one was a favourite of ours that we like to talk about was Jong Hong Wang, who finished with a 61 in Malaysia to really put the pressure on yesterday. Hasn't played this golf course. And when I look back, I thought, he should be this guy that should benefit from, driving accuracy and green regulation. But that hasn't actually painted the picture over the course of his career. I think he's just kind of someone that flashes, and you kind of have to just get it at the right week and hope for the best. But another high-profile player further down the odds board.
Yeah, other ones that I don't know. Maybe I don't watch enough of him on Instagram, but my feeling is Nicholas isn't as suited for this golf course than maybe other ones. Like, because I liked him a lot, but he feels to be maybe more driver heavy type of guy.
I think so. I think he's going to be that kind of more PJ Tour-esque type.
Like he posted already about like 350-yard carries in Kenya and stuff. You ain't playing that around here.
No, so, yeah, I don't think he's going to be. I think he's a good person to watch, but whether he's someone that we can actually really get behind, I don't know. Benjamin Follett-Smith stood out for me as kind of a bit of form recently, and there was trying to remember his first name now. Is it Connor Purcell as well?
Yeah. Because we bet Purcell the Irish last year. Really, really liked him. He's popped the last two events. He was another one I was going to bring up.
Yeah. So I think those type of guys. I think there is an opportunity. A lot of people will look at these people that have been playing well in South Africa and the Safari Tour and all those sort of things because they're playing in Kenya, right? But I think it's some of these Challenge Tour players that are going to take advantage of there being a weaker field, could kind of step up. I think you're going to get a little bit of that on the PGA Tour this week as well. But yeah, like Purcell was 17th at Data, and he was actually better placed after two rounds. He was in 6th, and then Cape Town, he was 3rd after round one, finished 24th. So, yeah, I think that's fine. It's good form. There's just nothing to necessarily go, this is why you should bet him. It's just good current form.
Yeah. Joel Moscatel was somebody that he had popped in Australia after doing pretty good in Q school lead up, didn't get enough for a card, but he was somebody I thought. But ultimately, my last selection then is Nico Galletti. Talked about Galletti quite a bit as well on the shows. Just Galletti is doing everything he can, and he is no different than, in my opinion, from Surrey. The three are Surrey, Nicholas, and Galletti, who have been pretty much qualifying everywhere through everything. Galletti didn't really take on Australian Open, finished 27th, and then missed the cut. He had popped a little bit, and then at the Waste Management, he Monday qualified into that and then made the cut there. Didn't play very well on the weekend, but what he did was, I believe he was top 5, if not higher. Let me pull this up as we go. Here. Second. Oh, no, first. He led the field in accuracy. Of the guys that made the cut, he led the field in accuracy there. Him and Matthew Neesmith were 1 and 2, and Siwoo Kim and Corey Connors. So to kind of be, I mean, he's a Phoenix kid. He went to ASU. He probably knows TP Scottsdale as well as anybody. But still, maybe to have that in your bag, to be able to hit these fairways is going to be super important there. Just to make the cut in a decent PGA Tour event is more than who. I guess that could be a trivia question. What was, outside of Galletti, the last made cut by somebody in this field on the PGA Tour? Probably ball swing stuff for Ferguson getting a shot, the Scottish. Like, what am I missing anything like super obvious?
No, did Jonas Blix make a random cut at one point?
Right. Schwab is in this field, like the 150s. You know, he probably made a cut. But like, I don't know, that's kind of intriguing all the way down at 250 to 1. You know, I get how many guys are getting spots to do that, and probably there would be more, but to Monday qualify in and then to have that lead the field in accuracy and have that, I've loved Gladdy's game. I'm super excited for him. So 250s with each way. I really, really like him there.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, look, it's, as I say, low opportunity cost again, and if you like a player and they've shown something like the accuracy that Gillespie showed at Phoenix, then why not stick with him? We don't know who these players are until we get a bit of bank of form on them, right? And there's no reason to suggest that he's going to struggle. He's just going to be, when does he break through more than anything? So looking forward to seeing that.
Okay. Anybody else for you, Tom?
No, I don't think so. I think I always wonder, like, when Tom Lewis is ever going to be good. Like, is he ever going to be good? Like, he's a big price in a weak field, but he's just never lived up to that kind of promise, which is a shame because he seems relatively likable, right? Like, I think people generally root for him, but no, I don't think there's anything necessarily on him as to why I would bet him. No, I don't think. I think I'd just be naming names otherwise. Ashley Chesters has good form here and the perfect profile to play well here, but otherwise it's pretty slim pickings further down the board, I think.
Okay, well then we lead to the favorite segment of the year here, and it's the Safari Tour update. I will say, unfortunately, there is not anybody on the betting card in the 2,500 range for us this year. It's just something where when I dug into it, Tom, unfortunately, there wasn't anybody ripping it up like our old friend Robson Chinhoy used to do. And it is a shame that he is not in the field this week. A downright shame. I mean, he won. Literally a Safari Tour golfer won on the Challenge Tour last year or Sunshine Tour last year. I mean, that's like a Tiger Woods not getting, to start at Riviera. This is how I feel about Chinhoy. I mean, it is despicable. He follows me now on Twitter these days. I am dying. Robson, there is an open invitation. I'm getting tweets from our board AD about how is Chinhoy not in the field. I mean, it's a tough scene that they can't get him in here. Maybe I think there's some scandal at play.
Isn't there a scandal on the Safari?
There is. There's more to it. I bet Chinhoy is he's somehow not getting the opportunities that he should.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure he was at the heart of it, right? Like, and he was probably like, yeah.
He DM'd me last year, and I tried to translate it, and it was like something that said scandal, or I don't know. I'll have to look back. But
yeah, definitely. It's a good one to translate. But yeah, I mean, look, it is a shame that there's not so many players that can kind of stand up. I mean, one of them might do it, and we just don't know. But there's no one to kind of pin your hands in.
Unfortunately, there's only been two that have made the cut in the last 2 years, one of each. One, now the Kabugus are back. Now we bet on the younger brother last year, and the older brother was the one who made the cut and played around on the weekend. And kind of he made a putt on like the 36th hole to get into the field or get into the weekend, which is pretty cool. But yeah, last year we really liked Kabugu. Unfortunately, he did not play too well. I believe the winner, or I guess the leader in the order of merit, is Dismas Indiza is his name. He's the one who he's like a legend on there. I mean, he looks at his pictures. He's got to be like at the youngest mid-40s, at the oldest. He could potentially be like 55, 60 Champions Tour type of guy. He won most recently, and he leads their order of merit. And then the guy who won, now they always do play at Mutaiga, and they always do play at Karen Country Club. So there are golfers who, like the Kabugus this is their home. They're the proudest members of this course. Greg Snow is in the event. We talked about it for a few years. It's Justas Nadaya, who's missed cuts here in the past. He is the one who won at Mutaiga, or at this golf course here a couple of weeks ago, but he's really not kicked on either, Tom. There was nothing screaming to me that said you need action at 2,500, which is sad. It's a sad day to not have that.
It is. I mean, look, you've got your Guido Migliozzi fix though, so even though it's not massive numbers, you've got one part of your favourite BP World Tour story in there, so hopefully he wins.
It's true.
You can't have it all, can you? I mean, this is the real world.
I mean, there's just some great names. So, Tom, I mean, if you just go through that, we got Visitor Mapuana. That's a great one. Ronald Mayo getting some invitations from Uganda. And where is Bob? I can get lost in these names. We can't be doing that. So, but no, I love that. So that's a Zimbabwe shout out there for him and Chinwe, the Zimbabwe golfers. But Tom, let's put a bow on it. Let's wrap it up. Right, go all day here. So let's our selections, and you're going to sell me on Van Veer on that.
Cool. So I'm going with Aaron Cockerell 40-1. Also John Catlin at 40-1. We are going to go with Sebastian Garcia. He's 90-1, and Julian Suri at 100-1. And then Sky, you need to put Darius Pandrell on your card, because if we have another Hugo Cassard moment, I think we could be in trouble.
Yeah, that was painful. I was rooting for Hoshino for you, but just as much for me not to get the Hugo. So yes, I have John Catlin 40-1, Guido Migliozzi 45, Sam Bairstow 60, Darius Van Driel 90, Julian Suri 100, and Nicolo Galetti 250-1. All of those have the each way out to 6 places, except Van Driel. His 90 is going to require a separate top 5 bets and shorter in some spots. But that puts a bow on it for our Magical Kenya Open preview show. Hopefully everyone is excited for the Super Bowl, because Tom, I think we've got a fun week ahead of us.
Yeah, I mean, we've had the actual Super Bowl, and now we've got what people want the Super Bowl to be, right? Like we that one walks, so this one can run, I guess. And looking forward to it. It's let's hope for back-to-back winners on the show.
Yeah, hey, amen. Best of luck, everyone. We'll see you next week as we venture over to South Africa for an event down there. So best of luck, and we'll catch you then.